Hi, welcome back to Legacy of Leaders. I'm your host, Suzie Becker, and I'm here with Chris Dempsey of Dempsey Law. Hi, Chris.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
It's a privilege because I want to talk about something that first I want to thank you for. Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
As someone who has served in our armed forces, I want to talk to you about your transition, what you did, and how you came to be where you are today.
Sure. I was in the JAG Corps in the U.S. Army for 4 years on active duty, and during that time I was with the 10th Mountain Division, Light Infantry, out of Fort Drum, New York, and deployed in support of Operation Enduring Freedom to Afghanistan. By virtue of my job duties, I was outside the wire at least every week, sometimes multiple times a week. And being a lawyer, it was in over my head. Was not prepared to experience combat, at least at the level that I did. And it traumatized me, like many of our veterans who return from overseas.
Yes.
So I was on active duty for 4 years, got off active duty and transitioned to the United States Army Reserves for the next 10 years, but pursued a career at the United States Justice Department in Washington, D.C. I was promoted rapidly, ultimately to the Chief of the National Security Unit, where I was utilizing immigration offenses to jam up known or suspected terrorists, working and serving the FBI, the CIA, DIA, all the alphabet soup of entities and agencies with the United States government, fighting the global war on terrorism, trying to prevent another 9/11 from happening. But I thought I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof and could just put my combat experience behind me. But I found out the hard way that's not how it works.
Mental health doesn't work that way.
No. And it took a while, but it caught up to me. And in 2017, I started to fall apart. My marriage fell apart, my family fell apart, and I ultimately ended up seeking inpatient treatment through the VA at a facility in Martinsburg, West Virginia. Couldn't be the Chief of the National Security Unit anymore and have the clearance that I did with a diagnosed mental health condition. So I was losing my job at that point too. Lost all hope, really just gave up. Had a gun in my mouth many, many times, just couldn't quite work up the courage to pull the trigger. I think the biggest reason was my children. I have 3 beautiful children. They're all in college, very successful right now, a parent's dream. And so I didn't. And at one point in 2017, I found myself laying on the ground in the woods near a church I'd been attending in Keystone Heights, Florida, and just looking up at the sky, just asking God to let me go, just wanting to die. And I laid there for 3 days on the ground, just waiting to die, or hoping to die. And sitting here today, I'm so glad I didn't. I've been blessed in so many ways. The first person that found me and started to help me was Trey Fagan. Trey Fagan is a great man who is very passionate about serving veterans in Northeast Florida. And he founded an outfit called Operations Barnabas. I was one of the first people they helped. And, they've got me a hotel in Gainesville for a night. But that was it. I had about a quarter tank of gas in my car at the time. And Trey hooked me up with 5-Star Veterans Center, which is here in Jacksonville, Florida. It's a homeless veterans center, primarily serving veterans that are suffering from PTSD and related symptomatology. And I called Suzie Loving, who's the Chief Operating Officer, and said, look, I'll come over to Jacksonville, but by the time I get there, I won't have any gas. I have no money for any gas, so I hope this works. And she said, come on over. And they took me right in that day. And I had a home, and I had resources, and I had acceptance and love, and sort of a family. And then I was given a speech on behalf of 5-Star Veterans Center a few weeks later, and I met my personal hero, Dan Bean, at the luncheon. Dan is one of the most incredible human beings I've ever met in my life. Anybody that knows Dan knows how much he gives to our community, and particularly in the service of veterans. He's on the board or the chairman of just about every veteran not-for-profit organization in Northeast Florida. He's a Navy veteran, retired captain, a very successful and beloved attorney here in Jacksonville. And he took me under his wing and saved my life. There is zero doubt in my mind that he saved my life. But for Dan Bean, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Dan is the epitome of selfless service.
Well, I'm grateful for Dan Bean, but I want to touch a little bit on the two nonprofits that you talked about.
Sure.
Operation Barnabas and Five Star Veterans. Tell me a little bit more about Operation Barnabas and how it gives back.
So Operation Barnabas is really grassroots. It's Trey Fagan's dream. He would literally drive around looking for vets to help that needed help. And he started small. And built it up from there. He got the idea that if we could just get veterans, some stability, a place to live, at least temporarily, resource them with mental health treatment, jobs, everything a person needs to sort of rebuild the life that they've lost.
It's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's
Yes.
starting at the very base level. And now that you're on the other side of this, you don't stop giving back.
No, I mean, that's how it works. I'm paying it forward with every fiber of my being, because every day is a gift that I'm here. I mean, I should have died so many times. My psychiatrist told me when we finished treatment and concluded treatment, she's a 40-year psychiatrist, both up at Rikers Island in New York, and 20 years for the VA, and she said, Chris, I can count on one hand how many veterans that were as bad as you that are still alive.
So tell me, where are you today? What's
Oh,
the
goodness.
most exciting part of this week before we wrap up?
I am in the best possible place, and that is serving other people. I am paying it forward big time. I'm heavily involved helping the Afghan population. A lot of veterans are upset that we marooned and left behind our allies, our interpreters, translators that served alongside our military, and I'm doing everything I can as a lawyer, particularly an immigration lawyer, to help them. I'm working with a not-for-profit out of Hollywood, California called Operation Snow Leopard. I'm involved in a class action out of DC challenging SIV delays. I'm involved in a lawsuit up in District of Massachusetts challenging the humanitarian parole program delays. As you may or may not know, there are 45,000 humanitarian parole applications pending on behalf of Afghans who are desperate. I mean, it's a true life or death situation. We're trying to get them here to a better life. And I'm doing everything I can to help them, and all the other clients that I've taken in at my firm. My life, my job, my purpose is about service, and that makes it all make sense to me, because for what other reason would I still be on this rock?
Well, Chris, from one global citizen to another, I want to thank you for being here today to talk about your story.
Of course.
If you want to hear more about Chris's story, you can log on to iwantabuzz.com. Thank you for watching us on Legacy of Leaders. Have a great day.